Today we are going to do introduction to Docker, which is a key skill in cybersecurity. Enjoy. Okay, let's get started. Here you can see task number 1, introduction. And if we go, we can see the overview of what we're going to learn in this video. So I'm going ahead and click complete because there is nothing to learn over here. Now, if we go to task number 2, we can see basic Docker syntax or different command you can learn with Docker. And the first command you can see over here is docker pull. What this command does is that it is going to download a Docker image and put it inside of your machine. So for example, if I go ahead over here on my terminal and I say docker, then pull, and then I put the name of image, for example, nginx, which is a web server. If I say nginx like this and hit enter, Docker, what is going to do here is going to download this image and put it in my own machine. Okay, now you can notice something else from this name over here. For example, you can see here it is written nginx, and in front of it there is keyword latest. This latest over here is known as a tag. So if I run something like this, if I say docker pull something like this, and then I say nginx, and then I say semicolon, and I put, for example, keyword latest like this. This one over here, this is known as a tag, and this tag is going to specify which version of this Docker image you want to download. Okay, so let us try to download the Ubuntu image. So if I say Ubuntu like this, if I left it like this, it is going to assume the tag is the latest image. But if we need to specify that we need the previous version of Ubuntu Docker image, we are going to put a tag over here like 22.04, for example, like this, and we're going to hit enter. So now it is going to pull this image of Ubuntu of 2022.04 like that. As you can see over here, it actually did what I just said to you. Okay, now if we continue over here, we can see different options, different tags over there, and we can see another command over here, docker image. Okay, so if I go to my terminal and I type docker image like this, and hit enter, you can see it gives us a lot of stuff we can do with this combination of command. But this docker image, when you say docker then image, it means that we need to perform operation on the image that has been downloaded by Docker. So what operation do we need to do? So if we look at the help menu over here, you can see a lot of stuff, but the most important one is LOS over here. So if we say docker image and LOS, if we hit enter, it is going to list all of the Docker images that we have downloaded on our system. You can see Ubuntu is over here, nginx is over here, and here is the tags for this specified Docker images over here. And this is when they were created, and here is the size of those images. Hope you understand what I mean by that. So the next step, we can see Docker image LOS, which is I have just showed you in less than a second ago. And if we say docker image docker image LOS over here, it is going to list all of the Docker images found on your system. And you can see over here docker image rm, which is used to remove Docker image. So for example, let us say we need to remove this. Let us say we need to remove this Ubuntu over here. So what we're going to say, we're going to say docker image and then rm in order to remove that image. And in front of it, you need to specify the name of this image along with its own tag. So we can say Ubuntu like this, Ubuntu, and then the tag is 22.04, and hit enter. You can see untagged this stuff over here. Let us see if it is still mentioned over there or it is already gone. So if I say docker image LOS, enter, you can see Ubuntu is gone. So let us continue with the rest of the commands. You can see docker image LOS, which we have already done that. It is just showcasing that the Ubuntu has been completely removed from here. Now let us see the questions and see if we can answer them. Over here it says, if we wanted to pull Docker image, what would our command look like? So for this case, it will look like a Docker like this, and we will say pull and hit enter. And in front over here, we will put the name of the image. And here it says, if we wanted to list all images on device running Docker, what would our command look like? What is this question means is that what command can we run in order to see all images downloaded by Docker? So for that one, as I showed you, it is docker image then LOS, something like this. So we are going just to say Docker images, and then LOS like this, and you are going to hit enter, and you can see it is a correct answer. Now it says, let's say we wanted to pull the image try hack me without these quotations. What would our command look like? So for that one is very simple. It is just Docker pull, and then in front of it we are going to say try hack me like this, and we're going to hit enter, and it is correct answer. Here we are going to it is saying let's say we wanted to pull the image try hack me with the tag 1337, no quotation. What would our command look like? Okay, so this is simple as well. It is Docker, then you're going to say pull, then try hack me, and then we are going to use semicolon, then 1337 like this, enter, and it is a correct answer. Now let us go to the task number 3, which is running your first container. So for this one, I'm just going straight to the questions, but before doing this, I need to showcase to you how we can run a container, because I don't want to go ahead and start reading this stuff. I'm just going to demonstrate to you really quick over here, and we're going straight to the questions. Okay, so over here, let us say we need to run this Kali Linux over here. This is Kali Linux Docker image over here. To do that, we are going to say Docker as a command like this, and then we are going to use the option -it, which means I standing for interactive, and T, it says that we are going to run a shell. For example, like right now I'm using bash shell, so we are going to run a shell or a terminal. It is good to say a shell inside of that Docker image. This is the purpose of this T over here, and it says that we need to interact with that particular image, and you can use --name to give the name to your Docker image that you need to run, and then let us say we need to run Kali as Kali. We're just giving it, this name can be whatever, and then after that we need to provide the name of the image, which is Kali. Let me see what is wrong. It is Docker. Okay, we forgot to put this one over here. Run command. You need to say Docker run, and then you put the options, and then after that you're going to specify the name of the Docker image, and in front of it you're going to specify the shell that you need to be run after the image is being let me see how to rephrase this one over here. So here we are going to put the shell that we need to run after this container is being run. Let's say after this container has been run, so which shell do we need to pop up? Okay, so for our case we are going to say bin, then bash like this, and we're going to hit enter, and it is error. Why? It says it is okay. I used this name before. Let me say Kali2 over here, and let us hit enter like this. It is taking a while, but it is going to run for sure. As you can see over here, we are inside of Docker container for Kali Linux. Let me break down this command over here. So here we used Docker as a command, but we added a command run over here, option run, and then in front of run we need to apply something called options. Okay, we applied something called options, and after these options you need to specify the name of the image. This is not optional. You need to specify the name of the image, and in front of it you need to specify the shell that you need to be spawned once the Docker command is run. So for example over here we have Docker run, and the option here are it and the name, and then we put the name over here, and this is the image, and this is the shell that is going to be spawned. So for our case, to prove to you that this is indeed Kali Linux, let me run the following command. If I say cat /etc/os_release like this, you can see indeed this is Kali Linux. Okay, so the first thing, if you need to use this one, you need to update. You need to use the sudo apt update, so that you can download other tools as well, but that is beyond the scope of this video. So let us continue. So if we go to the questions over here, it is going to ask us, what would our command look like if we wanted it to run a container interactively? Simple. We are going to say Docker run, then -t -i, because I is used for interactivity. That is why I put I over here and they added T, because T is not necessary for interactivity. I is the one that is important for interactivity. So if we go to the next question, what would our command look like if we wanted it to run a container in detached mode, or if we need to run the container in the background? For that one, we are going to say docker run dash D. D stands for detached mode. It is going to run in the background. Okay, so here it says, let's say we wanted to run a container that will run and bind a web server on port 80. What would our command look like? Let me show you that on the terminal. So if we need to do what that question says, we are going to expose a port. We are going to say docker, then we are going to say run, then -it for interactivity, and then we are going to specify, for example, the name of the command. For example, for example, let's say nginx, nginx like this, and then we are going to use -p option. This -p option is going to expose the port inside of Docker container to our own machine. So for example, if I say 80 and 80 over here, it means that I don't know the order, but I believe that this will be the port inside of Docker container, and this will be the port, and it means that the traffic from Docker will be passes through the port 80 on our own local machine. I believe that is the order. Then after that, you need to specify the name, nginx over here, nginx, and if we hit enter, I believe it is going to run, but it says daemon failed programming internal. Port is already allocated. Let us try 80. 80. Let me try that. It is conflicting. Let me try to say 881 like this. It is conflicting. Okay, let me try to do 80, 81 like this. I don't know what is wrong, but you have to remove or rename that container to be able to reuse. Okay. We need to rename and reuse it. Okay, so my bad. So if let us say 881 like this, and let us remove the name over here and hit enter. Okay, it is configuring everything up. Notice start worker process here. Let me try to visit it to see if what I'm saying is making any sense. So if I go over here and say 192.168.0.246, then /8081 enter, we can see we are indeed inside of the nginx web server. As you can see over here, I've successfully exposed port number 80 inside of Docker container to my own port, to map my own port on my local machine over here. So the order goes like this. This is port for Docker, and this port is being exposed to my local machine over here. That is why I can access it over here. Hopefully that makes sense, and let us continue with the questions. So the command here will be, assume we are not specifying any image over here, so we're going to say docker like this, docker, then you're going to say run, then -p, something like this. It says wrong. Let me see what do they want. So here is docker run. Okay, on port 80, so we're going to say docker run, then -p to expose the port 80 like this, and we're going to hit enter, and it is indeed correct. So the next one here, how would we list all running containers? To do that, we are going to say docker ps, I believe. Yeah, it is docker ps to list all running containers. So let me show you on my terminal over here. So we are going to say docker ps like this. It is going to list all containers that are running right now. Okay, and if we need to list all containers that are currently running and stopped, we are going to use the command docker ps tag a which means all. And if we do like this, you can see all of the containers that were run and stopped by myself. Okay, so I'm sorry if you don't understand what I'm doing here. Actually like, I need to record this video, because if I don't, and then I'm procrastinating, and I don't feel good about procrastinating, and I like to upload videos on my channel. So if you are few of the people who are still watching, go ahead and leave a like button, or you can subscribe, you can actually leave a comment just as an appreciation or whatever. But if you are still watching, thank you so much. So let us continue. Here it says, now, how would we list all containers including stopped? As I showed you before, it will be Docker. Okay, let me put my cursor over here. It will be Docker, then ps-a like this, and you are going to hit enter, and it is indeed a correct answer. Now let us go to task number 4, which is the intro to Dockerfile. Okay, so I'm just going to explain it for you real quick. I don't need to read this stuff. I'm just going to create with you this one over here, and you are going to run or run together, and you will see this stuff in action. Okay, so before we go to the questions over here, let me go to my terminal, and let us cd to /temporary folder, and let us make directory. Let us say test, and let us cd inside of test directory. So what is a Docker file? A Docker file, this is a file that tells the Docker command what a Docker image is going to do. So we are going to create our own Docker container. So how do we do that? To do that, I'm using a command. Let us use vim or nano. Let us use nano. Let us use vim, whatever. So here we are going to give it a name Docker file, because when we run Docker command, it is going to look for this particular file called the Docker file. So we are going to say Docker file, and you are going inside of Docker file. So what do we write over here? Here we have Docker commands. Okay, we have Docker options, we have Docker file options that are going to be ready by the Docker command in order to run the Docker image. Let me just show you so that you can understand. The first thing we need to put in front, on top of the Docker file, is something known as from. Okay, it is known as from. This from define the base image of that particular Docker image. For example, here we need, for example, to create a Docker file that use Ubuntu operating system. So here on top, we are going to say Ubuntu. We are going to say, for example, Ubuntu, and then in front of it, let us put a tag latest. We need Ubuntu latest, right? And then after that, we need to specify working directory. For example, if that Docker image is being made, which directory do you need to spawn inside of that Docker image? So for that one, we are going to use work directory option, and then we need to specify like root. For example, once that Docker image is being built, we are going to spawn on the root directory. And then after that, which command do we need it to be run after the Docker image has been built? So for example, for our case, let us say we need to create a simple file. Okay, let us say we need to create a simple file like using the command like touch, and then we need to create a file. Let us say file hello world.txt like this. So let me explain. This from is going to specify the base image of the Docker image. For example, if we need to use Ubuntu as the base image for our Docker image, we need to specify it over here. For example, if you need to use Kali Linux, you need to specify it over here. And this working directory is the directory that we are going to spawn in once the Docker image is being built. And this is the command that is going to be run once the Docker image has been built. So after that, let me save this one out. So I'm going to say shift ZZ like that, LOS. Now we are going to use a command docker. Then you are going to say build like this, docker build. And after that, the next step, we are going to use -t in order to give the name to our Docker image. So I'm just going to say MasterTVT. I'm going to give it name MasterTVT like this. And in front of here, we need to specify where is the location of this Docker file, which is our current working directory, which is a dot over here. And I'm going to hit enter. So here it is building our Docker image. Okay, we are in 19 minutes. Let me pause over here, and then so I can restart the recording. Okay, as you can see, the command is completely done, and you can see the steps that we did. Here we specify the from the base image, as you can see over here. It completely does that. And then the next one, we set up the working directory. it is going to start on that working directory, and then it is going to run the command that is specified it over here. And you can see everything over here. Now, if we do the following, if we say docker, and then we say image LOS, you can see our image MasterTVT is the one over here. And if we need to run this one, if you remember, we said we are going to say docker, and then we are going to use run, and then we are going to say dash interactive mode over here, and then we need to specify, for example, like name. I'm just going to say master like this, and then in front of it we need to specify the name of the image. For our case, it is MasterTVT like that, and in front of it we need to run bin bash, because that is the shell that we need to be spawned once we run this command. And it enter like that. It is going to take a while, but we are inside of this command. As you can see over here, we are in the root directory as the root user. And if I say LOS over here, you can see this file was indeed being created. So now you know how to build a Docker file or to build a Docker image. Now let us go and answer the questions provided regarding this section. Over here we can see what instruction would we use to specify what base image the container should be using. For our case, it will be from. Not for our case, it is called from. This is the instruction that is used in order to specify the base image or base operating system, and you are going to hit enter, and it is a correct answer. Now the next question, what instruction would we use to tell the container to run the command? The answer will be the run as it is being shown over here. We are going to say run with capital letters like this, and hit enter. It is a correct answer. Now, what Docker command would we use to build an image using a Docker file? The command here, the question might be a little bit confusing because it says that what Docker command would we use to build an image? The first command will be Docker like this. It will be Docker like this, but it says what Docker command would we use to build an image. So for this case, they are asking the command after you have typed Docker like this. So the command will be build over here. So we are going to say build like this, and you're going to hit enter. And the next, let's say we want to name this image. What argument would we use? The argument will be -t. And in case you forgot what does it mean, we are going to say Docker build like this, and in front of it we are going to say -t to specify the name of our Docker image. For example, we said it will be MasterTVT like this, and in front of it we are going to specify the location of the Docker file. Hope you understand that. Let us continue. Okay, here we are going to intro to Docker Compose. Here it just I'm going to explain to you by using this illustration. Over here you can see you have a single Docker image, and here you have multiple Docker image. What does it mean is that instead of you running multiple Docker images manually, you are going to utilize a tool known as Docker Compose in order to run multiple commands, multiple containers at once. It is like automating the running of Docker images. And this command is known as Docker Compose, which is written like this, docker-compose. And if we enter like this, it has its own commands that you can run like the same way like Docker does, but it is going to run multiple Docker images at once. The difference is, in order for you to be able to do that, you need to have a file known as docker compose.yaml. Okay, let me show you how this file looks like. The file looks like this. In this file, you need to specify the version of the Docker, that you are using. You need to specify the services like this. To be honest, I don't understand what this does, but I can explain to you. Here we have services. Here you are going to specify. I have to learn how to do this stuff. For me, I just know how to use Docker Compose, but this is the file that Docker Compose is going to use in order to run your Docker images. In other words, here this is your first Docker image, and this is the second Docker image. And when you use Docker Compose, it is going to run them instead of you running them manually. Docker Compose is going to run them automatically, and it is going to spawn those Docker images in a streamline. And the example here is that, for example, you have a Docker image for Apache web server, and we have Docker image for MySQL server. So instead of you running this and this separately, you are going to utilize Docker Compose in order to run these Docker images in parallel together without you running them manually. Hope you understand what I mean by that. So this is different commands. This is the different instructions for the Docker YAML file. So if you are interested, you can go ahead and read them. For me, I cannot be bothered. I can just Google how to do this. So let us continue to the questions over here. Here it says, I want to use Docker Compose to start up a series of containers. What argument allow me to do this? Okay, so for this case, it says that if you need to, for example, running multiple containers, which Docker Compose argument are you going to use? It will be app. App, this is the argument. For example, if you go over here and say Docker -compose and then app like this, it is going to run those Docker images provided you have provided the Docker Compose YAML file, as I showed you, as the file that looks like this, it is going to run. So for this case, it is app. For next one, in order to delete, you are going to use the argument down. Okay, and here it says, what is the name of the YAML file that Docker Compose uses? Okay, I just explained to you. It will be docker-compose.yml like this, and you are going to hit enter, and it is correct answer. Now we are going to intro to the Docker socket, and I can explain to you really quick. Whenever you see socket in computers, it means connection between two things. And for Docker, we have Docker client, the thing that we are running. This command of Docker, this command we are running Docker, this is Docker client, and the Docker client is sending signals to the Docker server in the background, in the backend. The same way like we are interacting with this website over here. This is client side, and behind the scene there is a server that is handling different requests that we are throwing on this website over here. So the same for Docker, we have a client side and we have the server side, and for them to connect, they need a socket or a communication channel. Okay, so hopefully you understand what it means. So if we run a command like this, this command is going to be sent to the Docker server, and it is going to return the result. Now let us go to the questions, because I cannot be bothered to explain everything over here. So let us go to questions. Here it says, what does the term IPC stands for? For this case, it stands for inter-process communication. It means that the process communicate with themselves. So here it will be inter-process communication, like this, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it is correct. And here it says, what technology can Docker server be equal to? The technology is known as API, or it is known Docker server. Remember, it is Docker server, not Docker client. It is Docker server. So the technology that is being equivalent to Docker server is known as API, or application programming interface, which is used to handle multiple requests. If you know what API is, you will understand what I'm saying. If you don't know what API is, I would advise you to go ahead and Google it so that you can understand, because I don't believe I can explain it to you right now, because as Einstein says, if you cannot explain something, it means that you don't understand it fully. And I believe the way I understand it, it is not a comprehensive way of explaining to someone, but it stands for application programming interface, and its purpose is to handle different requests, and is similar to Docker server, which is handling multiple requests. And I hope that makes sense. So I'm going to hit submit, and let us go and see all of this stuff in action. So I need to start this machine. I don't believe I have not started this machine yet, but I'm going to start this. I'm going to pause the recording, and I'm going to come back once this machine is being started. So I'm going to start like this. I'm going to pause the recording for now, and I will come back. Okay, the machine has started over here. Let us go to the questions. Here it says, connected to the machine, what is the name of the container that is currently running? So to know the name of the container that is currently running, we are going to use a command, docker image los, which is going to list all of the... No, this is wrong. We are going to use a command called docker ps, which is going to showcase the containers that are currently running. So if we do that, you can see the container that is currently running. The name is Cloudy Island. So we can copy this one out. Okay, it seems that is impossible to copy, so we are going to write cloud island like this, cloud island. We are going to hit enter. It is correct answer. Now the next question, use Docker to start a web server with the web server image, no quotations. You will need it to run the container with port 80. So the purpose of this question is to know how to export or to expose this port to our own local machine, so that we can access this particular, web server over here that is being, let me rephrase that once again. We need to expose port 80 to the world so that we can access that particular web page that is hosted by this particular Docker container. Okay, so to do that, we're going to use the command docker, then run -it for interactivity. I'm using D for detached mode as well. And then after that, we need to specify the name of the web server, which is web server. And after that, I forgot one thing over here, which is -p to expose the port. We are going to say 80 like this, and we're going to hit enter. And if we visit this page over here right now, if I open this one out, it is taking a longer time. It is taking a little bit of time, but it did it. And you can see over here, we have the flag over here, which means we have exposed the port and we got the flag. So we're going to copy this one out and we're going to paste it over here. And that is it. That is the end of this box. And I believe no one reaches to this end of the video. So if you reaches to the end of the video, prove me wrong by commenting something on the comment section below. This is MasterTVT. See you on the next videos. Goodbye.